Hey everyone, my name is David Rao and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can find my ideas obviously here on Facebook if you're watching from Facebook Live, or Instagram if you're watching on Instagram Live. So you can find me on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and a variety of other places when you search for my name, David Rao, or the words Make Moments Matter. I'm so excited to be here tonight to share with you a little bit about all my kindergarten through 5th grade lessons for the week, sort of what's happening in my classroom, and then also to give you a deep dive into my 1st grade lessons and some of the games and instruments and resources and processes that I use with my 1st graders throughout this lesson cycle. So I'm excited to do that. First, just a couple quick sort of housekeeping things. So I'm in my brain is like exploding with things that I need to do because Wednesday night I fly away from Atlanta. I'm going to Cincinnati to be at the National American Orchestral Work Association conference in Cincinnati. I'm really excited. I've never been to a national AOSA conference before, so I'm really excited to go and see all my friends from levels and meet new people. And so if you see me there and I look like I'm standing off on the side because I don't know many people, it's because I don't know many people. So if you're there and you see me, you should come up and say hi because it'd be really nice to meet more people. And I especially love meeting ORF people, and so it'd be great if you see me there or any conference or anything, and you're like, hey, that's David, come say hi. I'd really like to meet you. So, but my brain is thinking oh my gosh, I have to turn in all those sub plans. I gotta make sure that I did those copies, and I gotta make sure blah, 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 and I have a concert next week, and so my brain is a little bit cluttered with all of those things. So I'll do my very best to be in the moment for this video, but if you feel like I'm a little discombobulated, it's because I'm leaving on Wednesday night for a conference in Cincinnati, and I'm gonna be doing a concert next week and all sorts of stuff. So, like I said, if you see me in Cincinnati at AOSA, I would love to meet you. Come up and say hi. Also, I'm a part of the AOSA social media subcommittee, and we are looking to connect with people all around the country. So if you see me, you can come up and say hi, and then I could talk to you as David, and then also talk to you as David, who's a part of the AOSA social media subcommittee, and I can get to know you a little bit that way too. So it'd be great if you'd come up and say hi when you see me at conference. If you see me at conference, if you're going to conference, I hope you are. So a couple other things. In this video, I'm going to talk about my K through 5 lessons for the week, and then my 1st grade lessons specifically. I know that there are so many different things that you can talk about in the month of October, November, December. And so one of the things that I know a lot of people are thinking about is Thanksgiving lessons. And I'm not really talking about Thanksgiving lessons a lot in this video. However, if you are interested in Thanksgiving lessons, you can click on the link in the Facebook video. I can never think of the word. The comments or the caption. I don't know why I can never think of that. In the caption at the very bottom is a link to the recap page, and on there I have put a link to all of my Thanksgiving blog posts and resources and things that I've shared on my blog. So there are 4 or 5 or 6 blog posts about Thanksgiving stuff that may or may not be helpful. So that's on my blog if you're interested. Also, I've been trying to share a lot of resources and things on my Facebook page, so check there too. A couple other topical things. If your students are really into that Baby Shark song, which by the way, I cannot even see the video of it go through my feed without hearing it in my head. It's terrible. But if your kids are really into that Baby Shark song, I did a blog post about a shark song that I did years ago. It's not the Baby Shark song. It's a different shark song. But there's a circle game and the kids get to chomp one another. So if you're interested in reading that blog post, I put a link to that on the recap as well. If you're watching on Instagram Live, you can go to my profile, and in the links, there's a link to the Musical Mondays recap, and that's where you'd find it. One more thing, if you're interested in those topical lessons like Thanksgiving lessons or holiday lessons or shark lessons or whatever, if you join my email list for my blog, I do send out emails every once in a while. I just sent one out this week and I was like, rats, I haven't sent one out for a month and a half. I felt really bad because there are other blog posts that would have been helpful, but I'm trying to be more consistent with that. So like I said, there's a link to that also on the sign up page. But all that to say, if you sign up for that email list, you're not going to get spammed because I don't send them all that often, but I try and be helpful when I do. Okay, so that's a lot of recap. hopefully you'll see me at AOSA because you'll also be there. I see Lisa says she'll also be there. And Vicky says you need to come to Texas TMEA. I'm actually going to be at TMEA this year. So Vicky, I'll see you there. But maybe I'll see you at AOSA. I hope so. Come say hi. Thanksgiving stuff. There's a link in the caption. The word is caption for Facebook or in profile on Instagram Live. And Baby Shark and email us. All those things are there if you're interested. So let's talk about lessons for the week. So my lessons for the week are sort of weird because, again, I'm going to be gone on Thursday and Friday to AOSA. So knowing that takes 2 days out of my 8-day chunk. And then next week, I have a concert with 3rd grade. So that messes a lot of things up. And then there are like 2 grades doing field trips because why not? And then there's storm drill, like all of these things that I know are going to mess up this week's lessons. So it was a little bit tricky to plan for them, but I did my best. So I'm going to run through my kindergarten through 5th grade lessons, my basic plans for them, and then I'm going to do a big focus on 1st grade to share a little bit more. I feel like this Facebook video is like flashing weird, so I'm going to try and move you, and hopefully it won't flash so much. I don't know. I've never had it do this. Or maybe if I, sorry Facebook people, I'm moving you all around. Maybe if I do like that or something. I don't know. It's like, the light is weird. I'm flashing in and out. I'm keeping that Halloween spirit going and I'm like flashing in and out like a ghost. So sorry Facebook. Okay, so my kindergarten lessons for the week. I start like I have every kindergarten lesson with coming in and making a circle. Now they're just coming into the circle song. And they don't really know what to do the first time. And I always greet them at the door and I say, remember, you follow the directions that the song tells you to do. And the song directs them to come in and have a seat. And so they sort of can do that. They sort of get used to that. But it's always fun to see them do that. We've been doing our Copycat Game where we say a little poem, a copycat poem, and then I give them a 4-beat pattern and they repeat, and I give them a pattern and they repeat. And we go back and forth, and we have a couple different things we always hit. We always do padding, we always do clapping, we always do a vocal exploration. With 1st grade and 2nd grade now, I've added in solfege. Eventually we're going to add in some quick rhythm reading on rhythm cards, but it's just a really quick way to hit maybe the things that you wouldn't normally get in your lesson because you're busy with other stuff. So in this quick time at the beginning of class, we're hitting a lot of stuff. Kindergarten's not doing solfege yet, so I'm not doing that with them, but they do the pats and the claps and the vocal exploration. And then what we do in kindergarten to add is that we've been adding in a tone block back and forth. It's really the first instrument they're doing a lot with. I really like doing the tone block. I didn't know what I'd think beforehand, but I really like doing the tone block because they have two things in their hands. They have a tone block and a mallet, and they have to be able to move one hand independently of the other. They have to hold the mallet. They're working really hard to get the ball part of the mallet onto the tone block, and it's not an abrasive sound or an overwhelming sound. So I really like that it's teaching them sort of some mallet technique, and also they're getting used to that tactile feeling of holding the mallet, and they feel like they're accomplishing a lot. Like they feel, even if they're not getting the rhythm, they feel like they're doing really, really good. So they feel like they're getting a lot out of it. I feel like they're getting a lot out of it, and it's been fun to do. So I hand out a tone block to every other student, and we try it, and then basically it's just four beat patterns, really, really short. And then we rotate. And so they have to put what I'm having them do to rotate is they're holding their tone block. I have them put the mallet inside the tone block and hand it to the kid on the left. And so that's what they do. And they rotate back and forth, and it's worked really well for my kids so far. They haven't had any blow-ups or problems. Usually when I hand them out to every other kid, there are a couple disappointed faces of like, I'm not going to get to play. And then after just a few seconds of playing, they realize that we're going to rotate, and they feel okay with that. Susan asked, where can I find the circle song? Send me a direct message and I'll send it to you through email or Facebook or whatever. So we do our tone block stuff. We do that for a little while, and then we put tone blocks away. We come back to our circle, and we do one of my favorite songs ever, which is Highway Number 1. And if you don't know that song, you should look it up. You can find Highway Number 1. It is free to stream on Spotify. It's just a really fun little song where they get to go They go around Australia on Highway number 1, and at each major city that they pass, they stop, and a kid gives them a direction like hop, hop, hop and bob. I forget what they say. Or hop, hop and clap, clap, clap. Or side together, wiggle. Side together, wiggle. So they get to move around the room, and then when they get to a place, when they get to a city, they stop, and they do the action the kid tells them to do. It has always been a success, and it's fun to talk about another country, and it's fun for them to hear other kid voices on the recording, and the recording is free on Spotify. So if you don't have the recording, I think it comes in, I think it's on the Shenanigans CD, I think it's on a couple other CDs, but it is on Spotify streaming, and you could maybe find it on Amazon Music or some other places too. So we do Highway number 1. We get pretty successful with that. We find new space, we do our attendance. We learn the song No More Pie, which is a call and response, well, it's an echo song really, where I lead them basically through a story. It's a pretty well-known song, I think, now, but you could find it very easily online. And I like it because it's in a minor tonality, so that's fun for them and different for them, but they also just like it. They like it because they think it's just an easy story and a fun story. So we do No More Pie, and then I lead them into a vocal exploration, a visual version of it, where we go to the smartboard and we get to trace shapes that are on the board. It's a Thanksgiving vocal exploration. I have a ton of them. I think I've made 13 of them now in all different styles. Dinosaur and St. Patrick's Day and Valentine's Day and Thanksgiving and whatever, and underwater and cowboy, like all sorts of stuff. I have 13 different ones, and this one I already had created, and it's a Thanksgiving version. And I've already put a link to it on the website if you're interested in it, but it's nice because we did a vocal exploration before with our hands and moving in that Copycat Game. This is actually now a visual representation on the board where they see a line going up or a line going down. And I love doing that with kids because it really makes a more firm connection between moving up and your voice going up and moving down and your voice going down. And so it's really fun to play around with those vocal exploration slides with them. And hopefully at the end of the video, if we have a little time, I'll show that exploration to you. And if there's time after the vocal exploration, we do a little steady beat practice with a song that we already know or another song. Megan Rogers says, Smartboard Envy. You don't use the smart function at all, really, unless you're creating your own vocal exploration, like pattern. Really, it's just it's a projectable thing. So we just follow the image, and actually it's probably easier without the smart function because you wouldn't be drawing or moving it around. But we just use the projected version. I hope that makes sense. Because with a smartboard, you're actually going to be drawing on it or moving it with your finger, and we're not actually doing that. We're just following the pattern. I hope that makes a little sense. Okay, I'm going to skip first grade because I'm coming back to that. Second grade, we're doing something sort of fun that we've not yet done. I just sort of introduced notation to them a couple weeks ago when we went to the note neighborhood and we met the quarter note and the eighth notes and quarter rest. So in this lesson, we do all the beginning stuff that we normally do with the echo song. We do our Copycat Game. One of the things I've done differently, because we did echo patterns one whole week using hand drums. And I did a whole live video about hand drums. And then one week we did it all on tone blocks. And I did a whole live video about tone blocks. So if you're interested in that process, you can go back and watch those videos. But what I'm doing different today is that today in this lesson with second grade, I hand out tone blocks to every other student, just like I have before. Then I get the hand drums, and to the kids who are in between the tone blocks, they all get hand drums. So every kid gets some instrument. It's either going to be a tone block or a hand drum. And the cool thing is that then we can play with that a little bit. So I can say everyone echo, and I do a clapping pattern, they echo. Or I could say just tone blocks this time, or just hand drums this time. And that's fun because every kid has an instrument, but there are still, like small groups going on at a time. So, and it's every other kid. So it's not like this half of the room. It's the whole room, just in a sort of a, polka dot pattern, really, every other kid. So it's cool to be able to do that. For the first two rotations, that's what we do, is we do patterns echoed together. And then I say just tone blocks, we do 2 patterns. Just wood blocks, we do 2 patterns, and we do 2 more together. Great. And then rotate instruments. And then we do the same thing so that the kid gets experience on the next instrument because if you had a tone block once, the next instrument you'll have is a hand drum, because you're going every other kid has a different instrument. So then what I did on the third and fourth rotation of moving around the circle is that we did echoing to start, 2 of those, and then I had the tone blocks keep a steady beat, and I had the hand drums on top of that echo a short 4-beat pattern. It was so cool because the tone block kids are really trying to focus on keeping that steady beat, and the other kids on top of that are listening to me and are doing the echo pattern. So it's and they're sitting right next to each other. So it's cool to see that independent work. And they were very successful. The tone block kids, I said, if you can't keep that steady beat, just watch somebody who's close to you and try and sync up with them. And they did a really very good job. So it was cool to see that happen. And so then after doing a couple patterns with the hand drums where they repeated back and forth, and the tone blocks keeping the steady beat, then we stopped and we'd rotate instruments, and we did the same process, only now the kids who were hand drums are tone blocks, the kids who were tone blocks are hand drums. And so we got more experience. So the kids who were doing echo patterns before are doing the steady beat and etc. It was so cool to see that happen. So that was one of my favorite things about second grade this week, that I was just like, I wonder what this would work like. And it's great because the independent work and listening, and they really had to work together. It was super cool. So in that was just in the short beginning part of the lesson. So we did the copycat, we did all of that. They get a reminder of the solfege, so they're doing la, so, mi, do, my second graders, because like I said, I see them once every 8 days. This is my 8th time seeing them for the school year, and it's November. And so we're really sort of just pushing in slowly with that. And then what my kids did in this lesson is we took those rhythm cards that I showed you several weeks ago, the food rhythm cards, and we just played around with them in sort of a very basic way. I told them the poem about everything stew, which I told y'all about in in my live videos a couple weeks ago. But instead of having them create a word chain, I had them play around with the words at first, spreading them out, finding words they liked, finding words that they didn't like or whatever. We eventually did end up making a 4-word chain, and then I had them read the words and I had them read the rhythms. And it was cool because, like I said, just recently have I really named and introduced quarter note, eighth notes, and quarter rest. So for them to be able to now interface with that and to see those things in action, to see quarter notes and quarter rests and eighth notes actually being read together and reading them in patterns that they created is really cool. So like if they did broccoli, carrot, cucumber, red pepper, or whatever, then they would read ta-dee ta ta ta, I forget what word I said, cucumber, ta-dee ta ta, or whatever I said, and they're actually reading along in the order that they created, and that's really cool to see them connect with that. And you can sort of see some kids being like, wait, these words are connected to the notes and the rest, and so that was super, super cool. And this was just, this is all sort of pre-composition, arranging sort of stuff, but it's also reading the rhythm. So it checked a lot of boxes for me, but also it was just a fun exploratory experience for them, and they felt like they were like superstars leaving because they got to create this really cool thing with food words that they know. Third grade, I'm not freaking out that their concert is next week. I'm not gonna freak out. Maybe a little bit, but I'm not freaking out. So what I'm doing this week, because I'm leaving Thursday, Friday for National AOSA, is I know the week before my concert, I'm gonna be gone 2 days. But I'm taking the time with the kids who are gonna be doing our rhythm compositions and showing them to parents. I'm taking the time to break down and show them the process of how that works and what that's going to look like, and we really spend time with that. And then we sort of run through the other songs that are in the program. One of the things that I've added, and so far has been working really well, we're going to be doing Over the River and Through the Woods. That's one of the songs we're going to do. It's really a fall, Thanksgiving sort of theme, but we're doing verses 1 and 3 in an ABA form, so verse 1, verse 3, verse 1. And I chose that because verse 1 is all about grandfather, verse 3 is all about grandmother, and in between, I think I talked about this last week, in between, I'm having them all turn, and they're going to pretend like they're in a sleigh, and then I'm going to throw out obstacles at them, like, oh no, there's a tree branch, everyone duck, so they're all going like this, and then they go, So I'm sort of vamping on the piano, and I go, oh no, there's snow flying, turn on, the windshield wiper or whatever. And I'm gonna have to figure out exactly what I'm gonna throw at them, but I'm already planning to have my PE teacher and librarian throw some balled up piece of paper as snowballs at them, which I think will be fun. And then we're planning on having at least one tree branch, sort of make them all duck for that. And then we're gonna jump over a stream. Not exactly sure how that's gonna work. It may just be all at the same time. It'd be cool if they could do the wave, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. But it's just sort of fun. It extends the song and makes the audience feel like, oh my gosh, what a cool song, when really it's just a really old folk song that a lot of people already know. But adding in these little things in between, it makes the audience feel like, oh, haha, that was so much fun. And yet at the same time, I am teaching a very well-known folk song to these kids, and using that time also to talk about form and to talk about lyrics and reusing. And so that's my trick. We're going to see if that works. I'll let you know after next week's concert. And then we spend the rest of the time, we just rehash the songs that we should know, hopefully, for the concert. 4th grade, we're also talking about our upcoming concert in December. We're learning extra songs. I'm sort of prepping them now. I like to prep them at least one rotation ahead of time that we will have auditions for speaking parts, because some kids really flip out about that. For me, auditions is not like you come in after school and you audition for a speaking part. That I've never done it that way, and maybe it works that way for other people, but I've always worked in schools where transportation is an issue. So instead, what I do is I carve out some time in the middle of a lesson with the class, and I sort of go through and I read the whole portion of the speaking part that they are going to audition on. And they hear it 2 or 3 times. I read it expressively. I tell them this is what you're going to get to read in just a second. And then in small groups, which I use families, instrument families, which is teams basically in every class. They already have been using those all year long. And so they come up with their team. And if they want to audition, they can go up and read one of the speaking parts. Anybody who wants to audition can audition, but they do it in class, in front of their peers. I just take quick notes of like, pretty good, or can read, or did not emote at all, or, I just, quick notes. I mean, I say that, but it's really like, check mark, plus sign, or quick note to myself, or whatever. And then I take that list of the kids who have auditioned and I send it to their homeroom teacher and say, of the kids on this list, do any of them consistently fail to turn in homework? Are any of them consistent behavior problems? Are there kids who you think would be really great and could use the encouragement? And so I send it to them, and I tell the kids, your teacher and I are together going to agree on who gets a speaking part for your class. And so I take that time in class to do the auditions, to check with homeroom teachers, and then to get back. So it's a little bit of a process. And you don't get it all done in one night, like if you would if you had an after-school thing. But I don't have time during the day, and I don't know that students could stay after school and audition. So I just don't do it that way, and I never have. So in this lesson, we get to sing a little bit. I read through the passage in this lesson and say, next time when you come, you're going to get to audition. Here's what it'll look like, et cetera, et cetera. And I give them that prep so that next time they're ready for it. 5th grade is really a continuation of what we did in the last lesson. It was so involved in that last lesson that I wanted them to get another chance at it. In that last lesson we did the song Farmer's Dairy Key, and there were instrument parts, and there were movement parts, and there was a game, and there were rotations, and so they did pretty good. But I'm not sure in the last lesson that all kids in all classes got a chance to play the instruments, and so I wanted to make that a priority. And so in this lesson, we're really rehashing what we did, we're making it really good, and we're taking what we did last time and just making it better. They're getting really firm on it. And so what's cool now is that as they're playing, I can sort of just let the game go on because they know how it goes. I can let the game go on and step over and make sure, check on mallet technique, check on kids who are playing the wrong notes or seem like they're not really super secure on it. I can give them that individual feedback as we're singing. And on each rotation, we do about 2 or 3 times through the song so that they can really get a good chance at it. It's a really fun song. If you don't have the book, As American as Apple Pie by Jeff Krisky and Randy DeLellis, you need to get it because it's really good. I've talked about it in these 14 weeks. I've probably talked about it 5 or 6 times. So I really believe in it, and I've used it for a lot of different grades. So I think it's great, especially if you're like, what do I do with my older grades? I think it has some really great stuff in there for 4th and 5th grade. So check it out. And if you're there, or if people who are listening and you agree, chime in, because I really think it's great. So I'm going to talk about 1st grade, and I'm going to talk about all the stuff that sort of happens in my 1st grade lesson, and quick run you through that. We start with our circle song, which I've talked about in other videos, so I'm not going to run you through that just because I don't want you to hear something you're like, I know that one. But they come in, we do our circle song, we sit down, we do our echo repeating, just like I talked about earlier in this video, where we do the copycat game, and then we do a little echo, maybe patting, and then we do the copycat game, and we do a vocal exploration with our voices and our hands, and then we do a poem, and then we, so it's back and forth and back and forth. These kids, we do tone blocks in this lesson where every other kid has a tone block, and we click and we pass, and then we do patterns and we pass and patterns and pass. Really, it's about 4 rotations with the tone block, so every kid gets it twice. Because if I hand them out to every other kid and I do 4 rotations, each kid will get it twice, which they like. They feel like they've... I don't have kids who are like, I didn't really get time on the tone block. Like, they feel good about it. I've been tweaking and playing with how they turn them in. One time I had kids do this and then bring it over and put the things away. What I did this last time is I said, because when they rotate to the next kid, they put the mallet in and they hand it to the kid on their left. I've been doing, it's every time we've done pass to the person on your left. So this time I say, hold your tone block, but give your mallet away to the person on the left. And then one kid has a mallet and one kid has a tone block, and they all have a job when putting away. So the kids with the tone blocks come and put the tone blocks away. Once they've all cleared out, I tell the kids with the mallets to hold their mallet like a balloon, and they're going to bring their balloon over and put their mallet in the mallet jar so that the balloon floats on top. And then they put it in so that this is on top. I also tried sucker, but I don't like that one because I had a kid like try and lick it, and that's gross. I didn't use that example ever after that, but I like balloon because then the mallet just stays on top, and there are 2 reasons for that. One is so that they all get put away the same way in the jar, and I like that personally for me. But the other part is that it's a classroom management thing, because then they all are putting away the same way. I can see visually who has the mallets, but also they're not trying to hit other people with it as they're moving back because they're keeping it like a balloon in the air. So it's a classroom management thing as much as it is me being anal retentive about how the mallets go back where they go. But it's worked pretty well for me. So we end up, we're still in our circle, and I tell them that I have a song about a very famous person, and I want them to listen very carefully because they're going to need to tell me about that person when I'm done with the song. And the song goes like this. Old King Glory on the mountain. The mountain was so high that it nearly touched the sky. With a 1, 2, 3, follow me. If you're interested in the sheet music for this, I put a link on the show notes. But it's just super easy. It's in F, that's how I do it. I usually sing it up with kids in their octave. But it's in F, which if you want to play on the ukulele, you can very easily, just with an F chord and a C. And those are pretty easy to switch back and forth. So sometimes I do it on a ukulele. Today I sat down at the piano because I was tired. And I wanted to try something different. So I sat at the piano, but you could easily do it on the ukulele. So I prepped kids with the idea saying, I'm going to ask you about the song when I'm done. So when I ask them, the first thing I ask them is, raise your hand if you can tell me who is the person I'm talking about in this song. And they pretty easily can say, it's Old King Glory. Or they could say the king. Yes! If they only say the king, I say, what's his name? Let me sing again and listen this time. Old King Glory on the mountain. And usually their hands are up by then, but I don't stop singing. I sing the whole thing through. So they get another time through hearing everything. So I sing through the whole thing, and then they tell me, oh, it's King Glory. Great, and where did he live? Where was King Glory? And some kids can remember mountain. If they can, great. If you're getting no hands up, then I usually sing again. And they can tell me, oh, he's on the mountain. That mountain was special. It was special. Why was that mountain so special? And some kids can say, oh, it was so high that it nearly touched the sky. Great. Okay, but at this point, if I'm asking them these questions, that's critical thinking skill, is asking them to listen and decipher through all the information they're getting to give me just that one answer and to listen for specific things. That's a classroom management thing because it's their focused listening, they're actively listening, but also they're having to think about what my questions are based on the information that they've received. So I've usually sung through, by the time I'm done with those questions, about 4 times, because I want to give them chances to hear it again. I might even ask a question like, and where does that king live? Listen this time, and try and listen for that part. And then I sing, old King Glory on the mountain. The mountain was so high that it nearly touched the sky. With a 1, 2, 3, follow me. And they're just listening, they're not singing. And so then they raise their hand with the answer. But I like giving them those chances to listen because then they're learning the song as we go. They're listening for the questions, and they're just, active in the process of listening. Okay, so then I say, now I'm going to add one special thing. We've done through maybe 4 or 5 times. I'm going to add one special thing. Watch this. And then I walk around as I sing. Old King Glory on the mountain. The mountain was so high that it nearly touched the sky. And this time on the 1, 2, 3, I lean over and I tap. 1, 2, 3, follow me. And I do that action, and almost every time the kids go, oh, and they stand up and start following me. If they don't, I sing, follow me. 1, 2, 3, follow me. And they get the idea. Now what I've added this week, which I thought was super fun, is one kid in one of my classes goes, wait, if you're going to be the king, you need a crown. And my head is racing through I'm sort of a teacher hoarder, like people leave stuff in the lounge, like I keep it. And I'm like, I know I've got a crown somewhere. Where did I put the crown? And I'm thinking oh, it's back in the storeroom. I don't have time to get it. And so I'm like, what could I use as a crown? Well, so then I go over to my instrument shelves and I pull out a tambourine because why not? And so I know I look like Davy Crockett, but with the kids, it looks sort of like a crown. So then I wear the crown as I walk around, and I have not lost it yet, so thank goodness. But I try that with kids, and I walk around, and they think that's hilarious because they think it's funny that I have an instrument on my head. But they also like the idea. So the way the song goes is that I go around, we sing it over and over and over, and I keep adding in every verse, 1, 2, 3, follow me, until everybody is walking except one person. And once that last person is always like, do I get to walk too? And I stop and I say, there's only one person left. Who's that person? And today they're like, it's Kate. And I was like, nope, not Kate. Who is that who's left? And they're like, it's Kate. Kate's left. I'm like, nope, that's not her name. Who's that left on the mountain? And usually a kid's like, Old King Glory. I'm like, yeah, it's Old King Glory. Actually, it's Old Queen Glory because it's Kate. So what I did today is that I gave Kate my crown. I put the crown on her head, and then I was like, you need a scepter, I think. So I got my big mallet. So you can actually see a picture of this on my Facebook page. So Kate, the queen on the mountain, got to wear the tambourine crown, and she held the scepter, and she walked around. It was so cute because when she would do 1, 2, 3, follow me, she tapped him on the shoulder as if she was like knighting them. Oh my gosh. Kate apparently has seen some King Arthur movies. I don't know. But it was really cute when she was the queen because she walked around and did her thing. And then once we had done it enough times, then I step away on Kate's verse and I just stand on the side and play the ukulele. And by now they're singing. So what happens then after that is that once Kate has gone all the way around and has everyone following her, the last person then becomes the new king or queen. I usually do Old King Glory this first time in class. I usually do it maybe 3 times. One with me as the king and then 2 kids. And Kate obviously gave her crown to the next kid and her scepter to the next kid. And it worked really well. It was super cute for them to get to do that. I have sometimes had troubles with a lot of people moving because if, you're down to like 4 kids and they're way on like this side of the circle and the king's way over here, then you get to 1, 2, 3, follow me, and she's like still making her way around the circle. What I end up saying is that the king or the queen can move on their own. They don't have to stay in the big circle following the shape of the mountain. Everyone else who's been tapped needs to follow the shape of the mountain, but the king or queen can leave the line to go and tap whoever they need to. And that sometimes cuts down in the kids are here and the queen is here, because sometimes that happens, or the kids are here and the king is here. Sometimes that happens. So that seems to alleviate that problem if I say the king or queen is free to go wherever they want. They're the king or the queen, and you just keep following the path that they started for you. Dee said, you love the tambourine. Did you get that old headless thing from your room? No, I didn't steal it from your room, but it is very, very old and used to have a tambourine head and now doesn't. So it's perfect for a crown. But Dee, I would have stolen it from your room if I had known that you had a tambourine to steal. So that's Old King Glory. We do Old King Glory, and then we do our quick attendance thing where we sing back and forth. And I've been trying a lot of different things. One of the things I tried today that's just a little bit different is I do hello first grade, and they go, hello Mr. Rao, hello first grade, hello Mr. Rao, hello first grade, and they go, hello Mr. Rao. And I just have them try a lot of different things, which is fun. It's exploring, and they get to try different things. Then I move to singing, and I sing and they sing back. And I said today, because I want each kid to get a chance to sort of check in. I don't know where this came from, but I said, everyone sings, but only one bird flaps their wings. Everyone sings, but only one bird flaps their wings. I don't know, I was on cold medicine, so I don't know where that came from. But it was hilarious because when we did it, instead of what I've been doing normally is like I sing a kid's name, everyone sings back, hello Mr. Rao. I'll be like, hello Evelyn, hello Mr. Rao. Everyone sings the hello Mr. Rao, but the one kid whose name I called waves. Well, this time they flapped their wings. I don't know why I said only one bird, but I was trying to rhyme, I guess, and it just worked. But it was funny to see, and they really liked it, and then that kid was like super animated, excited about it, because sometimes when you single kids out like that, they're not so excited, or they're nervous, and so this was a silly thing that we added in, and they ended up really liking it. I'm going to try it with tomorrow's class. We'll see if it flies there. I'm sorry, I'm not trying for the puns. We'll see if it works there. I don't know. But basically what we did was that they copied me a few different times with different like expressions or robot voice or whatever, and then we moved to the singing. And what I was trying to get at was that I would sing, all kids would sing hello Mr. Rao, but the one kid would wave so I could check and make sure they were actually there. Someone asked, how big are your classes? They're supposed to be small, but because we have 10 sections in first grade and only 8 specials, they split 2 of the classes. So we get a class in half-ish. So first grade, kindergarten can be anywhere between 18 and 26, 27. Usually they try and keep them a little bit smaller in those grades, but things happen. So when we do our attendance, then we come over to my reading chair. It's my great-grandma's chair, a big fluffy green chair. And I remind them that last week we read a book called The Little Old Lady Who Was Not Afraid of Anything. We just talked quickly about that story, why she wasn't afraid. We added some instruments in with this. It's super fun for Halloween or early anytime in the fall because it's really sort of themed around autumn. So this was what we did last week, and I tell them I have another story this week about another old lady, but this old lady made sort of a silly choice, and you'll just have to learn about her because she made sort of a weird choice, and it's sort of smart but sort of weird. And anyway, this was my old lady, about an old lady who swallowed a fly. And some kids are already like, what? She swallowed a fly? If you can't already tell, this is a really big book, and I love it for a couple reasons, but I'll show it to you in just a second. So I say, I'm going to read the story, and I need you to watch and listen. That works for like a second because they learn the process and they sing along, which for me is fine. A lot of kids know this one. Actually, a lot of kids don't know this one, but a lot of kids do know it, or maybe their classroom teacher taught it to them, or the librarian did. So it depends on the classes. Sometimes they come in and they know it and they sing along, and with other classes they don't. So Anyway, or they know a different version or whatever. So anyway, I sing this one to them, and I try and sing it sort of in their range so that if they're going to join in, that they can. There was an old lady who swallowed a fly. I don't know why she swallowed the fly. Perhaps she'll die. And then I say, if you swallowed a fly, could that make you sick? And they're like, ooh, yes, that can make you sick. And I go, but could it make you so sick that you would die? And they're like, no, probably not. I'm like, right, probably not. If you accidentally swallowed a fly, don't worry. You're probably going to be okay. But that's not why that's not why we're worried about her. Because guess what? The little old lady swallowed the fly, and then she thought, oh no, I have a fly in my belly. What can I do to get rid of that fly? And she was sort of smart and sort of not so smart, because the lady did this. There was an old lady who swallowed a spider. It wriggled and wiggled and jiggled inside her. And I stop and I say, why would she swallow the spider? And kids are like, she swallowed the spider because spiders eat flies. You're right. Oh my goodness. She swallowed the spider to catch the fly. I don't know why she swallowed the fly. Perhaps she'll die. Oh, if you eat a spider, could you maybe die from that? Probably not. But it's what happens next that gets worse. And I like taking the time to talk through this with kids, because I think we assume maybe that they understand the reasoning behind why a woman would swallow a spider to catch a fly. Like, we assume that they get that, but I know not all kids do. And I think we also assume that, like, oh yeah, of course they understand this. And then I think back to how many songs I learned in elementary school, and I'm like, why did we sing that? Or what it, now as an adult, I can reason through, like, I guess that verse makes sense, but back then, like, what Big Rock Candy Mountain or some of the other things that maybe we learned, or there was a song I learned about a possum eating possums. I'm like, why did we learn that? Or groundhog is weird. Folk songs are weird, and sometimes songs are weird, so it's worth it to take a second or two and to process through with kids. There was an old lady who swallowed a bird. How absurd to swallow a bird. Absurd means it was very odd. It was odd to swallow a bird, right? Like, yeah. She swallowed the bird to catch the spider. She swallowed the spider to catch the fly. I don't know why she swallowed the fly. Perhaps she'll die. Oh, now she's eating something very big. Is that good to eat a whole bird? Oh, no, I can't believe she did. And we go through the whole song, right? And we get to the cat, we get to the dog. At this point, they're probably realizing with the person who illustrated this book that if you look, this is the animal that she swallowed, and this is the next one to come. So they can sort of guess what's about to come. Well, usually a kid in every class can figure that out. One of the things I love about this book is that it's a cutout book. So you can see like what's in her stomach there, and then as you move to the next one, you can see what else is in her stomach, and you can also sort of see back around here the way back into the other part of the story. It's sort of cool to have that cut out there, but anyway, so when we get all the way to the end of this story is a sad version. There was an old lady who swallowed a horse. She died, of course. And then I say, if you could anyone really swallow a horse? And they go, no. And I go, right, if they did, oh, that'd be so big. I don't think that you could swallow a whole horse. And then I say, is this song serious or is it silly? And they're like, it's obviously silly. I'm like, right, because, maybe a lady would swallow a fly, and maybe she would swallow a spider, but I cannot imagine any lady that would swallow a whole bird. I can't believe that. And I don't think that any lady would really eat a whole cat. I just cannot believe that. And so it's sort of fun to take the time to say, like, this is not a real song. This is a silly song. Because there are some of those kids that will take this home and will be like, lady swallowing a bird. And they'll really think through that. But to take the time and say, like, this is a silly song. Here's why. Could a woman really actually do blah, 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 blah. And so I think it's worth it. And I do that with my students. Then, if we have time, it depends on how the class has gone. If we have time, I pull out this book. And it's Old Black Fly. The reason I pull out another book and I use this one is because we just learned the song about the fly, the old lady who swallowed the fly. And a lot of kids do know that. So a lot of them sing along. hardly anybody knows this, and they probably don't know what I'm going to do with it. And so this is now a new experience of a different book with a different reasoning. This book is by Jim Aylesworth, illustrated by Stephen Gummel. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I did put a link to that in the video notes. I was first introduced to this book because I think there's a lesson in game plan, the curriculum by Jeff Krisky and Randy DeLellis, about this book. But I haven't had game plan for 2 or 3 years, and I don't remember what their lesson was, but I did buy the book when I had the game plan. So I was like, man, I don't remember what they're supposed to do. So I maybe the lesson I'm going to share is the same as them. I don't think it is, but there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this one. Also, there may or may not be a folk song that goes with Old Black Fly, but again, I can't remember it. And when I was teaching it with kids, I was like, rats, I can't remember it at the moment. So I sort of made something up. So this book, it starts with, there's got to be a song for this, and I don't know it, so I'm very bad to do this, but I just sang sort of my own little silly version. Old black fly's been buzzing around, buzzing around, buzzing around. Old black fly's been buzzing around, and he's had a very busy, bad day. And I just whatever, made that up. But I think there's probably a folk song version, so if you know it, chime in, please, so we can find it. I love the illustrations on this, though. So now I say, I'm going to need your help, kiddos, because the fly is going to do some things. I got to try and catch this fly. You all are going to need to help me. And it goes, he ate the crust on the apple pie. He bothered the baby and made her cry. Here's where I need your help. Shoo, fly, shoo, fly, shoo. They go, shoo, fly, shoo, fly, shoo. He coughed on the cookies with the chocolate bits. He drove the dog nearly out of his wits. Shoo, fly, shoo, fly, shoo. Shoo, fly, shoo, fly, shoo. So they're just echoing basically my own pattern. This is a cool book because it's an alphabet book. He frolicked on the eggs. He looked up the frosting. He danced on the edge of the garbage sack. He got sweet honey on his dirty back. With every page, though, they get to echo back my version with it of the shoo, fly, shoo, fly, shoo. And so we go through, and it goes through all the letters. One of my favorite things, though, is at the end of the book. Oh, I love this one. He snoozed on the quilt on Grandma's bed. He rode the red ribbon on her head. Shoo, fly, shoo, fly, shoo. She looks very upset. I think that the colors are just super fun. The illustrations are super fun. I don't know if you can see that very well. But my very favorite part is at the end. He buzzed about the yarn in Mama's lap. He landed on her table. Flip, flap, flip. And then it goes zzz, 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 zzz. I usually switch it back to the shoo, fly, shoo, fly, shoo. And then I go, oh, there he is. There he is. I think I got him. And then the last page is a swat. Which is sort of gross, but sort of funny. And then there's a follow-up of, old black fly's done buzzing around, buzzing around, buzzing around. Old black fly's done buzzing around, and he won't be bad no more. So it's a super fun book. You could do whatever you wanted with it, whether if not you use that song or something else. I see someone on Instagram is saying there's an awesome lesson for Old Black Fly in Artie Almeida's Mallet Madness book. Cool, I'll go check that out at school tomorrow. Like I said, I think that I first saw it on Game Plan, but I don't have that lesson anymore, so I'm not exactly sure exactly how that went. But if you buy the book, there are probably like 8 or 9 different lessons you could do with it. This just seemed to tie in really well with Old Lady Who Swallowed a Fly, and it was sort of fun. A couple extension things I wanted to show you. There are a billion versions of Old Lady Who Swallowed a Fly. This is a really old, creepy one that someone gave me, but the illustrations I think are just sort of frightening, so I don't use this one. Because the illustrations are like terrifying. Like, that's the bird she swallowed? What? No, thank you. So anyway, I don't use this book, but I have it. I don't know why I kept it because, I mean, it's just creepy. That's the spider, y'all. I can't show that to kids. I'm going to have nightmares looking at that thing. So anyway, and she swallows a goat and like the dog looks rabid. Anyway, whatever. But I have it. There are a lot of different versions. Then there's this version. If you've ever seen these books, This author has created a version of this for like every single holiday. So I know a lady who swallowed a bat. I know an old lady who swallowed a rose for Valentine's Day. There's one who swallowed a turkey for Thanksgiving. There's one who swallowed a bell, I think, for Christmas. So there are a lot of different versions you can do with that. So if you teach the song once, you can bring it back or put this out in your school library or put it out on a shelf to show kids there are other versions, which is sort of cool. That usually shows up in Scholastic book fairs too, so worth trying with kids. A couple other fun extensions that I sometimes put in a subtub, I sometimes put in lessons, is this book. There was an old lady who swallowed a pie by Allison Jackson, pictures by Judith Byron Schossner. And this one is fun because she swallowed a pie, and then to follow up the pie, she drank a bunch of apple cider. And then after the apple cider comes a dinner roll. And then after that comes a squash. And it keeps adding more fall foods until you get to the very end, where she just eats so much that she gets really huge. And like really huge. And then my favorite part is that she ends up becoming, they push her out the door, she's so huge, and she becomes a Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade balloon, which I think is pretty hilarious. So this is a really, really fun book to do if you've done the original. This is a fun sort of Thanksgiving themed. And so check this one out. This is not by the same author, it's different, and these ones are sort of everywhere, but this one is not as well known, so I put a link to that, and it's really fun. And then the other extension you could totally do with the song of Old Lady Who Swallowed a Fly is I Know a Shy Fellow Who Swallowed a Cello. There are some great sub plans you can use for this. You can put it in your sub tub and have substitutes read it, and it's super fun. So swallowed a cello. I don't know how he swallowed a cello. Perhaps he'll bellow. Then he swallowed a harp. Not too sharp to swallow a harp. And so he swallows all these things. He swallows a saxophone. He swallows, let's see, a fiddle. All sorts of stuff. And at the end, he does not die. He bellows. And all of the things come out of him, and I think that's sort of a cool, fun visual. And then the cello comes out at the very, very end too. So he lives, great. I love the old lady books where the kids live, and so it's really fun. It's cool to have those different versions too, because you can talk about theme and variation if you want. But it's nice to also have them if, like, you have a class and you've taught that song, and then you have like 5 minutes randomly, or they got off the bus from a field trip when they weren't supposed to, and they come right to your room and you weren't planning on having them. It's cool to have those books to just pull and use in class. Really quick, I wanted to show you the Thanksgiving vocal exploration that I talked about for kindergarten, because I said I would do it if I had time, and I have just a second. So let me do that really quick and show you. Oh, look, and we're gonna flip around here. We're gonna see if it'll work. Okay. I don't know if it's gonna work. Let's try. So here are the vocal explorations. Sorry, Instagram, if you can't quite see that. There we go. And so the vocal explorations are sort of fun because they are sort of Thanksgiving themed, sort of foresty themed, and you help the raccoon hop along home. So what I do is I usually have like a pointer that I go up to the board and I use, and I draw along the little vocal exploration line, and I sing along with it. I do the first couple times, I do my own example, and then I have them sing along with me. And I do that because this one, if they did it, could be woo, 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 when really it is lower in the range, and it's not as big. So I do woo, 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 to try and help them to see that it's a sort of a smaller wave and it's lower, right? And so then when we get to something that's bigger, then they get to do a bigger jump and a bigger up over the trees. I made this, and I added a little story to each page so that they feel like they have to like help do something. They're not just doing it for the sake of, doing a vocal exploration, but show the squirrel how to get up to the last nut on the tree. And so they have to follow the pattern. One of my favorite things to do with these vocal explorations is to do them wrong. So here's a great example. So I would say, okay, here I go. Listen to me and see if I get it right. And they like usually look at me dumbfounded, like, what? Like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, sorry, did I not do it right? Let me try again. And then they look at me again like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, sorry, did I do it wrong? Yeah, let me try it one more time. And I do that for a couple of reasons. One is because I want them to not just take everything I do for granted, but I want them also to like take some time to think about, no, that pattern does not match what I hear. You know, that's a very important skill. And so I do a couple of these pages where I give them a bad example, and it's their job to figure out what the good example should be. And sometimes what I'll do is say, I'm so sorry, I just can't get it. Can you do it for me instead? And I'll just point and let them do the vocal exploration. Usually I don't do that until like the 5th or 6th one that we've done, so that they have had several examples beforehand. But I do that, and then there are a lot of different variations and shapes and things that we can try with these. When I was making them, I tried to get some good variation so that they're not doing all the same exact things. And I try and sort of theme them around the holiday or, you know, whatever it is that we're learning, so that they get a chance to do that. This is another great thing to have in your pocket if you have 5 minutes at the end of class and you need to do something. It's nice to have this ready to go. So at the end of each of these slides, if you do have a smartboard, the last 5 slides are where you can make your own. So if you have a smartboard, it's really easy to grab a pen and to just draw your own. And the story says, watch Katie reach up and get the last apples. Well, you can draw that up, or if you don't have a smartboard or don't want to, you can just use your finger to draw a pattern and have the kids follow. And I try and have a couple different options. Jump with the pilgrim over the leaves, fall with the leaves down to the ground, so you're getting ups and downs and sort of arounds. Help the pilgrim grab the corn. Move the pie over to the rest of the meal. So these are things that you can then create with the kids and change sort of on your own. So this is the Thanksgiving one that I created. I do have them for like every holiday and every there's like outer space and dinosaurs and whatever. And if there's a theme that you're like, hey, what about a vocal exploration for blah, 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 and you don't have it, well, let me know and I can try and make them. But that's just something that I always try and have available to me at the end of a class if I need it, or at the, you know, if we're learning, if we're taking time and talking about that sort of thing. It's nice to have that option for vocal exploration. Let me quick look. I feel like I saw a question in here, but maybe I didn't. We can talk about it later. Nope. I see Andrea said something, but I can't somehow see it. You had trouble with old lady song over the years at school. Some of the old lady songs are a little bit problematic because in some versions she dies. I know there are some versions where there was an old lady who swallowed a fly. I don't know why she swallowed a fly. Perhaps she'll die, or you could change those words if you wanted. At the very end of some books, instead of saying she died, of course, they say she's full of course. And so there are a couple other options. You could change those words if you wanted to. But again, it's a silly song and not a very serious song. And I always stress that with kids because I don't want them to be like, this lady died in the story. But a lot of our folk songs and a lot of our kids' songs, like animals die in so many of our kids' songs. It's crazy. I would love if other people would comment on Andrea's comment on Facebook if you watch that, because it'd be great to hear your thoughts on that. Okay, it's time to let y'all go. Like I said, if I see you in Cincinnati for AOSA, please say hi and please come up. It'd be great to meet all of y'all and make friends all around the country. Especially if you're coming to the ORF conference, it'd be great to make lots of other ORF friends. If you have questions, always leave a comment or shoot me a direct message, and I'd be happy to try and get back with you. And all the links for all the things I talked about are in either the show caption or in the link in profile. Okay, thanks everyone. Have a great night.